Radiculopathy is a clinical condition that occurs when a spinal nerve root is affected, often leading to pain, weakness, or numbness along the nerve's pathway. The most common causes include disc herniation, spinal stenosis, degenerative changes, infections, and metabolic or demyelinating processes. Diagnosing radiculopathy accurately is crucial for effective treatment, but it can be challenging due to overlapping symptoms and complex anatomy. In recent years, advances in accurate diagnosis of radiculopathy is vital because it guides treatment decision and impacts patient outcome. Misdiagnosis can lead to unnecessary procedure or ineffective therapy, prolonging discomfort and disability. Both EMG and MRI have become standard tools in the evaluation process, but they serve different purposes. While MRI provides detailed images of the spine's anatomy, EMG assesses the functional status of nerves and muscle. By combining these approaches, electrophysiology, particularly electromyography (EMG), plays a strategic role in diagnosing radiculopathy. EMG involves recording electrical activity from muscle to detect signs of nerve root dysfunction. It provides information not only about the presence of radiculopathy, but also about its severity, chronicity, and the specific myotome involved. The American Association of Electrodiagnostic Medicine recommends a standardized protocol, including needle EMG. During an EMG study, clinicians use both nerve conduction study, NCS, and needle EMG. For cervical radiculopathy, muscles like the bicep, deltoid, tricep, and ham muscle are tested. For lumbar radiculopathy, muscles in the thigh, leg, and foot are evaluated. At least two muscles innervated by the same root but different nerves are examined to rule out mononeuropathy. Paraspinal muscles may also be included for broader assessment. The magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, has revolutionized the evaluation of spinal disorder. MRI provides high-resolution images of the spinal cord, nerve roots, intervertebral disc, and surrounding structure. It is particularly useful for identifying anatomical abnormalities such as disc herniation, foraminal stenosis, and nerve root compression. MRI grading systems like those proposed by Kim et al. For the cervical spine and Lee et al. For the lumbar. A retrospective study was conducted to compare the diagnostic capabilities of EMG and MRI in patients with suspected radiculopathy. The study included 170 patients who had both EMG-confirmed radiculopathy and spinal MRI scan. Researchers aimed to determine how often the two methods agreed on the diagnosis and which spinal levels showed the highest sensitivity for each technique. This comparison is important because it helps clarify the strength. In the 170 patient study, 40 patients had cervical radiculopathy and 60 patients had lumbar radiculopathy. The average age was around 52 per year, with a slightly higher prevalence in men. Most cervical cases were right-sided, while lumbar cases showed a higher rate of bilateral involvement. These demographic details are consistent with previous research, which finds that radiculopathy is more common in middle-aged adults and can affect both sexes. Understand. The cervical region, the most sensitive root level for EMG diagnosis was C-SAR, followed by C-CHA. MRI most commonly detected abnormality at C-CHA and C-PA. The agreement between EMG and MRI was statistically significant for C-SAR and C-ART roots, but not for C-PA, C-CHA, or TA. This means that while both methods are useful, their concordance varies depending on the specific nerve root involved. The study O. Lumbar radiculopathy, the L-PA root was the most sensitive level for EMG diagnosis, followed by L-CHAR and SA. MRI most frequently identified abnormality at L-PA and L-CHAR. The agreement between EMG and MRI was statistically significant for L-CHAR and L-PA, but less so for other levels. Interestingly, some patients had positive EMG findings for S8 radiculopathy, even when MRI was normal. Study used the kappa statistic to measure agreement between EMG and MRI finding. A fair agreement was found at certain root levels, such as C-SAR and C-R, in the cervical spine and L-CHAR and L-PA in the lumbar spine. However, overall concordance was low, especially when clinical data were not available. This statistical approach helps quantify how often the two methods agree and underscores the importance of using both techniques together. EMG is valuable for detecting functional nerve abnormality. It has limitation. EMG may be normal in the early acute phase of radiculopathy or in cases with pure demyelinating lesion. The technique also struggles to localize upper lumbar radiculopathy due to overlapping innervation and may miss findings if not enough muscles are tested. Additionally, chronic changes in distal muscle can sometimes lead to overdiagnosis. These factors highlight the need for care. RI excels at visualizing anatomical structure, but also has its drawbacks. Abnormal MRI findings are common even in people without symptom, leading to potential false positive. The technique may miss functional nerve problems that are not yet visible as structural changes. Additionally, the quality of MRI images and the grading system used can affect diagnostic accuracy. These limitations mean that MRI should not be the sole basis for diagnosing radiculopathy. Studies' findings emphasize that EMG and MRI are complementary tools in the diagnosis of radiculopathy. EMG provides functional information about nerve and muscle health, while MRI reveals anatomical detail. When used together, they offer a more complete picture, increasing diagnostic confidence and guiding appropriate treatment. This combined approach is especially valuable in complex cases or when initial findings are inconclusive. Clinicians, understanding the strengths and weaknesses of both EMG and MRI is essential for making informed decisions. Relying solely on one method can lead to misdiagnosis or unnecessary intervention. By integrating clinical examination, EMG and MRI finding, healthcare providers can more accurately identify the source of radiculopathy and develop targeted treatment plans. This approach ultimately benefits patients by reducing uncertainty, Studies suggest that, whenever possible, both EMG and MRI should be used in the evaluation of suspected radiculopathy. Clinicians should be aware of the limitations of each method and interpret results in the context of the patient's clinical presentation. Including a sufficient number of muscles in EMG study and using standardized MRI grading systems can enhance diagnostic accuracy. Collaboration between neurologists, radiologists, and other specialists. Ongoing research aims to refine diagnostic techniques for radiculopathy. Advances in imaging technology, such as high-resolution MRI and new electrophysiological protocol, may improve sensitivity and specificity. Studies are also exploring the integration of clinical data, imaging and functional testing into comprehensive diagnostic algorithms. These developments hold promise for more accurate, efficient, and patient-centered care in the future. Patients understanding the diagnostic process can help reduce anxiety and foster trust in their healthcare team. Knowing that multiple tests may be needed to confirm a diagnosis is important, as each provides different information. Patients are encouraged to communicate openly with their providers about symptoms and concern, and to ask questions about the purpose and results of EMG and MRI study. Informed patients are better equipped to participate in their care and make their rise. Both EMG and MRI are valuable tools in the diagnosis of radiculopathy, each with its own strengths and limitations. The study found fair agreement between the two methods at certain spinal level, but overall concordance was low without clinical data. Combining EMG and MRI increases diagnostic accuracy and helps guide effective treatment. Clinicians should use a multimodal approach, integrating all available information for the best. Important to note the limitations of the study. The retrospective design meant that clinical data and patient symptoms were not included, which could affect the interpretation of EMG and MRI finding. Additionally, not all muscles were routinely tested in EMG, and MRI image quality varied. These factors may have contributed to the low concordance observed. Future studies should aim to include comprehensive clinical assessment and standardized protocols for both. Conclusion: the diagnosis of radiculopathy benefits from a combined approach using both EMG and MRI. Each method provides unique and complementary information, and their integration leads to more accurate diagnosis and better patient care. As technology and research continue to evolve, clinicians will have even more tools at their disposal to help patients with nerve root disorder. The key takeaway is that no single test is sufficient. Collaboration and Those interested in learning more, the study referenced several key articles on the diagnosis and grading of radiculopathy, the use of EMG and MRI, and the statistical methods used for analysis. These resources provide deeper insight into the complexity of nerve root disorder and the evolving landscape of diagnostic technology. Staying informed about the latest research helps clinicians and patients alike make better decisions and improve outcomes in the management of radiculopathy.